Yeah, so that'll be our schedule, and like I said, we should get through chapter 12. And so chapter 12 is a new chapter. Next week we should get through chapter 11, and that'll give us 2 weeks to get through chapter 12. And then anyway, then when we come back, we'll start on 13, and we will definitely get done by the end of May. Okay, we should have plenty of time to do that. Okay. Okay, so turn with me to Revelation 9, 1 through 5. We're going to start reading there, but I want to read 8:13 because that's where we left off, and just do a real quick review of chapter 8. But would somebody read Revelation 8:13?
And I looked, and I heard an eagle flying in mid-heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth, because of the remaining blasts of the trumpet of the 3 angels who are about to sound.
So he's telling us, we know if we look back to chapter 6, there were 7 seals that Jesus opened on the scroll. And out of the 7th seal, there wasn't a judgment that came out of that 7th seal, but what there was what?
A pause.
There was a pause, but what else? What came out of that 7th seal?
The angels with the trumpets?
Yes, there's 7 trumpets. So 7 angels are standing there. When he opens the 7th seal, there's a pause in heaven, and 7 angels are standing there with trumpets. And we saw 4 of them. We looked at those 4 last week, and those 4 trumpets were the 1/3. So if you think 1/3, that's what each one of those trumpets brings: judgment to the earth, 1/3 destruction. Okay? And so then, those are horrible to think about. And yet here, there's an angel flying and saying, whoa, 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 because what?
It's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse. And so that's where we're going right now in chapter 9. And we should get through chapter 10. And so let's read verses 1 through 5. And we're not going to read all of it, but it's basically the 5th and the 6th woes or trumpets are in this chapter. Okay? So let's read chapter 9, verse 1 through 5.
Then the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to the earth. To him was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit, like the smoke of a great furnace. So the sun and the air were darkened because of the smoke of the pit. Then out of the smoke locusts came upon the earth, and to them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. They were commanded not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing, or any tree, but only those men who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads.
One more verse.
And they were not, I was just scrolling it, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And they were not given authority to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. Their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it strikes a man.
Okay, we have seen stars fall from heaven before, as we have looked at previous judgments on the earth. This star falling from heaven is different. And why do I say that? What can you read in the text that tells you this star is different?
Because it says he.
It says
It's a
he.
being.
Yep, it says he, and it also says,
He has the key to the pit.
okay, he has the key, but where did the key come from?
Heaven.
It was given to him.
It was given to him. Okay, so we have he and we have him. So we know that that's a personality of some kind, because none of the other stars, it was clear all the other stars we've looked at that have fallen have been some element of the heavens falling on earth. But this one is different. And when the way it's written, so when he sees the star falling, this is also different, because what he's saying is this event has happened before I'm seeing it. So it's already fallen. That's how he wrote it, okay? So he doesn't actually see this star fall. It's already fallen, and he's just writing it that way, okay? And what else do we find out
Yeah,
about?
cause he said had fallen.
Had fallen, exactly. And so, and we're gonna get into some of the more details. We just wanna get the big picture here, and then we'll talk more about the details, okay? So what else do we find about, okay, what happens, what does he do with the key? That's the question I wanna ask. What does he do with the key?
He opens the shaft of the bottomless pit.
Yep, he opens the bottomless pit. Okay, and we know what we want to see, first of all, what that is. Okay, look at Revelation 20, verse 3. What does Revelation 20, verse 3 tell us about the bottomless pit?
And threw him into the abyss.
Who's him? Let's go back. Let's
The
go ahead and
dragon.
1 through 3. Huh?
Dragon.
The fallen angel. Oh, Satan.
Okay, look at
Starting.
let's look at 20 verse 1 through 3 so we have context.
And I saw an angel coming down out of heaven, having the key to the abyss, and holding in his hand a great chain. He seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who is the devil, or Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. He threw him into the abyss and locked and sealed it over him to keep him from deceiving the nations anymore until the 1,000 years were ended.
Okay, so let's look at Luke 8:31. And keep a hand there, and we're going to come back to Revelation 9. But look at Luke 8:31.
And they begged Jesus repeatedly not to order them to go into the abyss.
Okay, so we should get some context on that as well. So there was a person possessed with demons, and Jesus was casting those demons out of that person, and they did not want to go where?
Back to the pit.
To the pit.
Yeah.
Okay, and so they did what? To not have to go back to the pit.
They went into the swine.
They did. They went into the pigs, but what did they do to not go back to the pit? Yeah, they begged not to. So what does that tell us? They're demons. They're begging not to go to that place.
It's a horrible place.
It's a horrible place, and it's a demonic place. And what they did is so horrible that they're locked up. And we can look at, go back to chapter 9. And look at verse 11. Let's read that now.
Revelation.
Yes, Revelation 9, thank you.
They had as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek is Apollyon, that is destroyer.
Okay, so these demons had a hierarchy over them, and that personality in charge of them was called what?
Abaddon.
Yes, and that means
The
Destroyer.
torturer of Gentiles. and
Yeah.
Jews.
okay. So this fifth woe is so horrible because these demons are being released on the earth for the fifth woe, for the fifth trumpet. Okay, and so we find out, how do they appear? How do they appear?
Like
Yeah,
the locust.
exactly. And have you ever seen, I have never, but have you ever seen pictures of a locust swarm?
Yeah.
And then,
Pictures.
yeah, that's all I've ever seen is pictures of it. And he's trying to give us an understanding of what this is going to look like. They could actually take on the physical characteristics of some type of locust, but we know that they're demonic because they couldn't be alive in the pit. So they're taking a form of locusts. And he adds something else to describe what their enablement is.
They sting like a scorpion.
Yes, they
Yeah.
sting like a scorpion.
Stings on man.
Is that A-O-N?
Yeah.
Oh.
there you
O-N?
Oh, yeah.
Owen, okay. All right, so that's the characteristic of this, and when he sees them, he sees what come out of the pit. What else does he see? Yeah, and it literally could be smoke from the heat. It could also be this look of this swarm that's over the earth. It could be both.
Or demonic energies,
Yeah.
whatever is coming out.
Yes, it could be both. Now it's who is spared, what they're going to do.
The people that have the same.
And who
Those
are the
with the mark of,
Mark of-
Yeah, there's people that are sealed, and who do we know for sure are part of that group?
144,000.
The 144,000, and we know that those 100. He's telling us they are not going to be tormented. They're going to be protected from the torment that's going to be inflicted by these demons on people. Okay, it could be there will be other people who will become believers during this time frame. It could be that they are also sealed. We don't know, but we at least know that the 144,000 are sealed because that's how God has described them, and we've already read that. Okay. So when you think about the star that's fallen, let's look at. We're not going to read those other verses in Job, and that's where Satan is described as a star. And let's read the verse in Job. Let's look at Job 38:7.
Morning star.
When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy.
Okay, and Satan came with, what does verse 6 say?
On what were its bases sunk, or who laid its cornerstone.
So maybe we need to read 8.
Or who shut in the sea with doors when it burst out from the womb. That's 8.
That's 8, 38:7 and 8.
Yes, it says, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy.
Okay,
Or who shut in the sea with doors when it burst out from the womb.
okay.
So I
So
don't
the
know if it's my Bible, different version.
so the star angels are described at times as being stars, and so Job brings up the fact that, and if we looked at the first couple of chapters of Job, we'll see he comes before God and he's with angels before God. He's able to be in the presence of God with angels. And so that's exactly what and he was described as a star. And that's not unusual for an angel to be described as a star. So let's go back to chapter 9 of Revelation. And when I want to pick up, what did we say about when he saw the star fall? How did we depict that in time? Does that make sense? Yes, it was a past event. So and we know it's a he or him, so we know that there's, and a key is given to him, and he is able to release these demons to torment people on earth. And so if we understand that, we know that, we see that, when did Satan fall?
He hasn't.
Okay, that's true. But when did he fall? That is true.
In the garden, right?
Before that.
before that, when he
Yes. So historically, he has fallen.
So he fell before creation.
Before
We don't know.
It couldn't have been.
We don't know. We're not told. But we know that he fell.
He and a third of the angels that he
Exactly.
took with him.
And we're going to look at that in Revelation 12 when we get there. But we also want to look at Revelation 12, and we will look, because Donnie said he hasn't, and he's right.
So Satan was, just going back to that thought of Satan was there before creation. He couldn't have
Oh,
been
the angels.
Well, the angels were created. We aren't told when they were created. We don't know. We are never told that.
Cause that wasn't
Well, it doesn't
mentioned in the
mention that it
7
was
days.
there when they was created, cause
No, we don't know.
in the beginning was the Word was God,
Yeah,
all that
we-
stuff, it was just that.
Yeah, well, we don't know. We don't know when in time God created the angels. He doesn't choose to tell us. We just know they exist because he tells us that.
Yeah, but his great sin, that he couldn't be forgiven for was, what he did to mankind. And, I mean, that's what he, I mean, I don't know if y'all have heard the book of Enoch, but I study other testaments. And, in Enoch, man, it says that the angels rebelled whenever the watchers came, in order to watch over, the people of the earth. Well, they took unto them wives. Well, that was the great sin. They also taught, forbidden knowledge from heaven.
The great sin was putting himself ahead of God and
Yeah, and
denying
Isaiah
God.
tells us that it was his pride that actually put him in a position to be cast from heaven.
Right.
The
He
story-
could
it
take,
was
he could
his
take
pride.
what he wanted from God's,
Yes, it was, he wanted to be, and we're gonna see that, because as we go through the book of Revelation, we're gonna see that what he wants is to be worshipped as God.
Yep.
And we're gonna see that connection as we get to chapter 13 of Revelation. But we're not there yet, but yes, Joe.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I did have a question that kind of goes with what we've already been reading and stuff. Was saying that Satan hadn't fallen yet, but in verse 20, I mean in chapter 20, we talk about how he was locked up in chains for 1,000 years. When is this 1,000-year period thing?
That is a really good question. It's future.
That
It
was
is
my-
future, and we will get there when we get to chapter 20. Because he's going to tell us exactly when that is. But and I can tell you time-wise, it's after the second coming. It's after the second coming. So that's in chapter 19. And granted, not everything is in chronological order as we go through the book. But chapter 19 is in chronological order, and so is chapter 20. Okay? But we'll get there, and we'll see that. Okay? But now, let's see. Where was I, Joe?
Revelation 12.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to Revelation chapter 12, and we want to read verses 7 and 9. And what do we see there?
And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels waging war with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels waged war. And they were not strong enough, and there was no longer a place found for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, and the serpent of old, who is called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world, he was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him.
Okay, so there is we know from looking at Job, if we went back and we've looked at it different times as we've done this different studies, we know from looking at Job that he could present himself with the angels, that he has access to God and to God's throne. Here is an event, and what is described in this event?
A war.
A war. And who is the war with?
Michael and his angels and the
Dragon and his angels.
Yep,
dragon.
Michael and his angels, and the dragon is and his angels. We know who Michael is, and we will look at a verse in Daniel chapter 12 at some point in time, but who's Michael? He's an archangel. Yeah, we have three angels that are mentioned by name in the Bible. Obviously, there are more,
Yeah, there's
but
four.
we have three. And what are the names of the three? Michael.
Michael.
Yep, Gabriel.
Satan.
Yep, Lucifer.
Yeah,
Satan.
Lucifer.
Yep. So those are the three angels' names that we know. We know there's plenty more. In fact, as we've looked at Revelation, we've seen that there's myriads and myriads of angels. We've already seen that described when we looked at heaven. Okay, so
Yeah, squeegee.
yeah,
It's pretty
do.
handy.
It-
Sit up there and
There's a
sweat.
spray.
yeah.
Dana, there's a spray bottle that might help.
Okay, thank you.
That's nice.
Okay, so regarding the war, what did we find out? That there is a point in time where what? There's a point in time where what?
Where he's locked up in the pit.
Yeah, looking at Revelation chapter 12,
Oh, 12.
yeah, there's a point in time where what event is gonna take place?
The devil is defeated.
It's just running down when
Where the dragon and his crew were thrown down.
Yes, there's a point in time where the enemy, Satan himself and his angels, will be thrown down from heaven, and how does he respond to that event? How does Satan respond to that event?
Knows his time is short.
He knows his time is short. And there's no longer a place found for him in heaven. And then, let's see.
But he has
Look at verse 12. I'm getting ahead of us, but we'll come back to this when we get to chapter 12. What do we find about the enemy in verse 12? When he's thrown down.
He was filled with fury.
Yeah, he's angry. And we're going to look at that, and we're going to look at what he does with that anger when we get to chapter 12 in a couple of weeks. So, there is a point in time. So, there's a future point in time where the enemy is thrown down. It's still future in our time frame. He still has access to God's throne. And look at 12.
So this throwing down is different than him being thrown down the first time.
Exactly. And we'll get into that in more detail, like I said, in chapter 12. But when John writes that he saw the star falling, it's referring both the historical fall and that fall has taken place when he releases these demons out of the pit. And it's a horrific time. Okay, so go back to chapter 9 and tell me what those demons are actually going to do.
Oh, they're gonna sting men.
Yes, but what does that look like?
chapter 9, 13 through 14.
No, let's go. He says it there at the
9.
beginning.
5.
I
Yes.
saw
They were
star
permitted to kill anyone. They were not
Yes.
permitted to kill anyone,
Yes,
but to torment for 5 months.
yes. And so we have no reason to believe that what he's saying is true, that it's 5 months and they're going to, what kind of torment? They're not going to be able to die, but there's going to be what kind of torment?
Stings like a scorpion.
Okay?
pain. There'd be this
It
physical
says that
pain.
they'll wish to die. And
They
can't.
wish and they can't.
Yeah.
It's that bad.
So bad.
Why was it important for him to put in there not to harm the grass or the trees and stuff?
Well, that's what
Is it
the
because they're
Bible says.
actual locusts then?
I think they can be, they're either, and it sounds like they do embody some kind of a locust, which would be their natural thing is to do that, but they're going after people. And so it shows that demonic influence or embodiment in those locusts. They're not a normal locust.
Because-
And they are going to be spiritually tormenting.
because locusts
Well,
don't
chapter
physically-
7 is a description of their appearance. Chapter 7, verse 7. Chapter 9, verse 7.
Yes, I mean, and yes, it is. And if you want to read that, that's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. And the appearance of the locust was like horses prepared for battle, and on their heads, as it were, crowns like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men. And they had hair like the hair of women, and their teeth were like the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots, of many horses rushing to battle. And they have tails like scorpions and stings, and in their tails is their power to hurt men for 5 months.
So that is like a description that he is providing, and if it's literally locust, if you look at a locust or insects under some kind of a magnifying thing, they have some of these features, so it's not so far-fetched that he's just describing something that's so far out there. And so if you look at them magnified, they have some of these features depending on the character, the particular
the
insect that it is. Exactly. So, but no matter what, we can take that as it's a demonically inspired, tormenting, spiritually tormenting event that people on the earth have not known before.
Because it's not doing what locusts generally do, is attack
Yes.
crops and eat
Exactly.
vegetation.
Exactly, that's not their goal, that's not their
goal.
intent. Okay, so after that, then, there's the sixth trumpet that blasts. And that's the second half of these verses. And so let's read, I wanna give you, we're gonna read 13 through 16, but I wanna give you this quote from John Wolverine. For the first time in history, all those who do not know the Lord Jesus Christ as Savior will come under demonic possession and affliction. What is true in that hour is true in some measure today, for there is no deliverance from the power of Satan, nor from his affliction, apart from salvation in Jesus and the delivering power of God. It's a horrific time. So let's read Revelation 9, 13 through 16. This is the sixth trumpet. And what do we find out there?
Then the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, one saying to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, that
I guess that was a sound effect.
That was good timing.
release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. And the four angels who had been prepared for the hour and day and month and year were released, so that they would kill a third of mankind. The number of the armies of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them.
Okay, so the sixth trumpet, now we find some details related to the sixth trumpet, and what do we find?
It releases four angels.
Okay, and we're told some things about those four angels, and where are they?
in the
Euphrates.
Yeah, and what's significant about that? They're by the river Euphrates. What's significant about that? I'm gonna put an E and you can spell it.
EUPHR, or something like that.
Yes, I think that's right. So what's significant about the river Euphrates?
Supposedly.
That's where they were bound.
It is where they were bound.
Is it one of the ones from the garden?
It goes.
It
for-
is. Yeah, it is, and it also is border of the nation of Israel. And we will see it later in chapter 16 described, because it's going to dry up. And it is what it's a barrier between the east and the nation of Israel. But we find these four angels, and what do we find out about these four angels?
that they're bound, that they're chained.
Yep, okay, so if they're bound, what is the indication about them, of their identity?
That they're some of the ones.
They're not good.
They're not good.
No.
We never see,
Demonic.
we never see a good angel bound, never, in the Bible, okay? So that it helps us to understand, and they are designed for what?
To kill man.
Kill a third of the
Yeah,
population.
to kill a third of, yeah.
Okay, but they're also designed for what?
For the hour, day, month, and year.
Yeah, so this is a determined by God event. And these four angels do what?
So they might kill a third of mankind.
Yep. So we already looked at the fourth seal and how much of the population died then, back in chapter 6.
Third.
25%.
25%. So we got 25% of the population destroyed. Then we have a third of the population that's left destroyed. We have these events that have been taking place, and people have died during those events. We've had wars described. And so we're going to have about more than 50% of the population at this point in time has died. And we've got the ecology from chapter 8 that's totally destroyed as far as supporting life, including a third of the stars and the third of the sun and moon. The daytime is going to be impacted. Weather. This is a horrific time frame to be living on the earth. Frightening,
What's
terrifying.
that, 25%, 1/3?
25% of the fourth
Okay.
seal, 25% of the population in the fourth seal died. Here in the sixth woe, 1/3 of the population dies. So we've lost over 50% of the population on the earth through the judgments that have occurred. How do people respond that survive? Let's look at verses 19. Yes.
For the power of the horses is in their mouths and in their tails.
No, I'm sorry, look at verse 21. Look at verse 21.
And they did not repent of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their immorality, nor of their thefts.
So they have witnessed, they've experienced, they've survived, they've crawled out of the caves. They've gone through all of those events and they're still living. And this has got to be so, I mean, it's like if you ever felt like life, like the ground is shaking underneath your feet.
Just
because
you are
it's,
correct.
huh? Just.
Thanks. What did he say?
It wasn't worth repeating. He said the ground shakes under his feet when I walk by. Okay, that was a distraction. That was for free. Okay, so, but this has got to be, I mean, life can be so unpredictably scary. And it's just like everything is shaking. And that's how insecure this must feel. This must be. And again, we've got the worst of the worst tormenting people with the oppression of the enemy. And yet people in that state do not come to a place of repenting. And remember, who's talking to them? And we haven't even discovered everybody that's talking. Who's talking to them during that time frame? Which 144,000 converted Jews are alive on the earth, and they survived the entire tribulation. It's why they were sealed, and the enemy can't torment because they're giving people the gospel. And God is giving people hope.
A chance.
A chance and hope. That there is hope. That there is a future. That He does care. That He does see them. And presenting the gospel to them in the middle of such there's no way to describe.
And there's got to be some of those people left that will eventually believe, or
Yes.
it would be done.
Yes, you're exactly right. That's a good point, Marcy. That's a very good point. Okay, so that's the fifth seal. That's the sixth seal. And again, now we're going to get like a pause. We're going to get some more details. And at first this was kind of confusing for me because I want the whole book to be laid out in chronological order because that's my mind. And so to get to the point where I go, okay, it's not all in chronological order. We can know that when the judgments come, they are always in chronological order. That's how we know time. But once in a while, we're going to get a pause in here, and we're going to get some additional details. And those events may be in the first 3.5 years. They may be in the second 3.5 years. And we may not be able to tell exactly where, but we know what those events are. This is one of those situations where there's a pause. We're given more details. And that's what chapter 10 is. So let's read verses 1 through 4 of chapter 10.
Then I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven. He stood robed in a cloud, with a rainbow above his head. His face was like the sun, and his legs were like fiery pillars. He was holding a little scroll which lay open in his hand. He planted his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land.
Okay, so where does the angel come from?
From heaven.
Okay, he comes from heaven. And how is the angel described?
Robed in a cloud with a rainbow over his head.
Say that again, Dawn.
Robed in a cloud with a rainbow over his head.
Okay. And
Face like the sun.
face like the sun. And what kind of a sense are we getting about the angel?
The mighty.
He's powerful.
Yeah, he's powerful. And Louis wants to, tie him to Jesus, which is the right thing because God is in charge of the angels. And he is an angel, and the reason we know that he's an angel, I don't think I was going to have us read this, but let's...
Well, it says he's an angel. A
Yeah,
strong
but
angel.
some people think because of the way he's described, they try to make him be Jesus, but there's a place in here, just a second. Verse 6. Look, we know it's not Jesus by verse 6. What does verse 6 say? The angel did what?
And swore by him who lives forever and ever.
Yeah.
Who created heaven. So that right there separates him. Right?
Yes, because Jesus is not going to swear by himself. It's, he's clearly representing the Godhead
And it's
here.
not an evil angel because the evil
No.
wouldn't swear to
Yeah,
allegiance
you're
to God.
exactly right.
He has direct communication with.
Yes, he's sent. And that's what angels are. They're ministering spirits on God's behalf and for people. And so in this situation, John sees him, and what kind of sense do we get by how he describes what he's standing on?
No, 1 foot on the earth and 1 foot
In the ocean.
ocean.
Yeah, 1 foot on the sea, 1 foot on the earth, and he says it 3 times. If we read this chapter, we would see he repeats that phrase 3 times about that angel. Okay, so what's significant about that?
He has dominion or power over the earth and the sea.
Yeah, we're getting that sense of the dominion of God over the earth and the sea. And so he's standing there. And while he's standing there, he's talking to John.
So did it give it the name of an angel? Or just
We
rather
are
just-
told.
Just angel.
Yeah, we are told. He also is described as having what?
A scroll.
Yeah, he's described as having a book. And how's the book described?
Small.
A little book. And what's true of that little book?
And they don't.
It's open.
And
Okay.
a little information in it.
Little information in it, okay. Thank you, Jared. Okay, so he's got a book. He's got, some people try to think it's the scroll, but we don't know. But it's a different word that's used for the scroll than is used for this little book. Okay, so most likely it's not. But some people try to associate them together. Okay, so let's look at verse. We read through 4, is that correct?
Well,
Okay.
no. Oh, yeah.
Okay, what is verse 4? Verse 4 gives us kind of a unique instruction to John. What is the unique instruction to John?
To seal up the things which the 7 peals of thunder have spoken, and do not write them.
Seal up, do not write. Now, what have we read several times in the opening chapter of Revelation? What was John told to do? Write it down. And that's what he's been doing. And then he's told something here, and he's told don't write it. Okay? Now, let's look at Daniel 8:26. We're going to come back here. Look at Daniel 8:26. What do we find there?
The vision of the evenings and the morning that has been given you is true, but seal up the vision, for it concerns the distant future.
Okay? So look at 12:9. Daniel 12:9.
He replied, "Go your way, Daniel, because the words are rolled up and sealed until the time of the end.
Read one more verse.
Many will be purified, made spotless and refined, but the wicked will continue to be wicked. None of the wicked will understand, but those who are wise will understand."
Okay, so what do we find out? Oh, let's read one other verse. How about going to 2 Corinthians 12:4? And what is this about? since we're jumping into just a single verse, who is this about? Do you know?
How he was caught up in paradise and heard inexpressible words, which is not lawful for man to utter.
Okay, and who is that he that was caught up to heaven?
Jesus.
No.
Daniel.
No, in 2 Corinthians 12:4. Who's that he? Yes, it is Paul. And he's telling us about an experience he had. And what is the experience that he had?
You knew a guy.
He knew a guy. Yeah, I know a guy. Okay, and what did he know about that guy?
He was called up to heaven and talked to God.
Yeah, and what does he say about that experience?
That he didn't know if he was in real life or asleep.
Okay, and
Inexpressible words that man is not permitted to speak.
yeah. So we have other situations in the Bible, which kind of unusual for John because he's been told to write everything down, but in this situation, he's told not to write it. Why do you think he's told not to write it?
It's a secret.
It is a secret. It's true. It's a secret. And we don't
It's
know the
going to
answer.
be a surprise.
It will be a surprise. We don't know. We don't know. Okay. So let's look, I think we've answered that. Let's read Revelation 12:7. And let's see what, and my question for you is, what does he mean by this?
It says 10:7.
That too.
Okay.
How about 10:7?
10:7.
10:7. 12:7 was a joke, not wrong. 10:7.
But in the days of the sounding of the seventh angel, when he is about to sound, the mystery of God would be finished, as he declared his servants to the prophets.
Okay, so he's just described, this angel has just described this event. He's had the little book. He told John, don't write this, and then we come to this verse. What is meant by this verse? Read it one more time, Dan.
But in the days of the sounding of the seventh angel, when he is about to sound, the mystery of God would be finished, as he declared it to his servants, the prophets.
Okay, so we haven't heard the seventh angel yet, right? That's the seventh trumpet, seventh angel. We've heard 6. We haven't heard this one yet, but he's telling us something about that event. What is he saying?
What was top secret will be revealed.
Okay. Okay. What else?
Christ is gonna be in control of the earth.
Yeah, well, and he says
It's gonna be done.
okay,
All of that's
he's
gonna
The
saying
mystery of God is finished.
the mystery of God is finished. Okay? So, how is that possible when we're only in chapter 10? We've got 20. Joe, that's my question for you. How is that possible when we're only in chapter 10 and we have 12 more chapters to go? How could it be finished?
It's just a future event then, right? Because you said it's not a chronological order?
It's foreshadowing.
What's considered to be the mystery of God?
Well, it's the days of the seventh angel, the voice of the seventh angel.
So we haven't heard that seventh angel yet, but it's coming in chapter 11. Okay? We haven't heard it yet, but how can they say chapter 11, we got 11 more chapters to go, that it's going to be finished at that point in time?
So you know what's to come.
Is it him revealing himself more directly? Or?
He's just foretelling you about the seventh angel.
He is, and he says this is what's key to that, because I was hanging up on the days of that event. In the days of that event, that's when the mystery is going to be over. Everything that God said in the Old Testament is going to happen, just like he said it was going to happen, but it's the days of that event and not just when that trumpet sounds.
They're using
The
the
seventh.
days as like
It's a
good old
period of
days,
time.
a period of time,
Yes,
not necessarily like a week or a month. It's
Exactly, we don't know
Like,
the
we don't
time.
know the time or the length of the
He
time.
uses but that's how that rolls out to make sense. It's like when that
Days,
seventh
yeah.
trumpet is in those days, because then there are 7 judgments left.
In those days, whatever they may be, or whenever they may be.
Yes. But he's just saying that that's when, and what's the mystery of God? What is he referring to when he describes it? The mystery of God.
What he told
It's
his servants.
finished.
Yeah. Just whatever happened in the scroll during that day.
Well, it's what he preached to his
Yeah.
servants, the prophets.
But they
Yeah.
didn't
So
tell-
it's about Jesus.
But who, so the mystery was revealed,
To the prophets, but not to anybody else.
okay, but did they
Wasn't that
have,
salvation for Gentiles? Wasn't that the mystery? Or is that a
that's
different
the
thing?
church,
It's a different
that's,
thing.
but
Okay.
that's an example of one. Paul said that the mystery to an Old Testament saint was that the Jew and Gentile was gonna be together in a church. God never told them that in the Old Testament. So that's one example of that mystery. And so there's things in the Old Testament they didn't know. Like, we can parallel, as we have said, there's 404 or 405 verses in the book of Revelation. Almost 280 of those verses allude to things that were written about in the Old Testament. That's a lot of parallels between the Old Testament and the New Testament. And so when he said the mystery of God, which he told the prophets, and we read a bunch of those minor prophets last week about the day of the Lord, and those events have not happened yet. So there's a point in time where everything that he revealed to the Old Testament saints, and what he didn't tell them, that Revelation is going to have written down. And that's kind of where you were going at. And that's where it's all going to happen in the mystery of all of these events. God didn't tell them very much about some of the things, or didn't tell them all the things that we are going to study through the book of Revelation. But there is a point in time where everything is going to be out there. God's going to do everything just like he said he would. And that event is going to take place after the 7th trumpet. And then those 7 bowl judgments take place. Okay, and the key point is that God's plan is on schedule, and his promised forever kingdom is getting closer, is getting near. Okay, let's read verses 8 and 9 of chapter 10. And what is John told to do with the book?
Then the voice which I heard from heaven spoke to me again and said, Go take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel who stands on the sea and on the earth. So I went to the angel and said to him, Give me the little book. And he said to me, Take and eat it, and it will make your stomach bitter, but it will be as sweet honey in your mouth. Then I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it, and it was sweet as honey in my mouth. But when I had eaten it, my stomach became bitter. And he said to me, You must prophecy again about many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings.
Okay, so John was told to do what?
Eat the little book.
Eat the book. And no matter what, that book represents what?
Wisdom.
Say what?
Wisdom.
Okay, wisdom?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. And where did that wisdom, that knowledge come from?
It's divine.
From the angel.
Yeah. So,
Came from God.
this is the truth. Whatever was written on the book is the truth from God. That's clear. And that's why the angel brought it, and he brought it to John, and he told John, and part of eating the book is to what?
Digest.
Read it.
Yes, to read
Internalize
it, internalize it, for it to become a part of who he is. And there's 2 experiences he was going to have because he ate the book. And what were the 2 experiences he told he was going to have?
Joy and pain.
Okay, joy and pain.
It's going to be honey to you on your lips, but turn your stomach bitter.
Yeah, there's bitterness. So how does the truth do these 2 things?
Well, the truth cuts like a double-edged sword. I mean, it either destroys a person or it builds them up, depending on how they take it.
Okay,
So if you take it badly, then it's all terrible. But if you take it and use it to build yourself up, it is joy and it is sweet.
okay. And he's really describing what critical experience for himself. For John.
Ministry.
Huh?
Ministry.
He's going to get
Getting
there.
truth, doing it, internalizing truth, and then dispersing truth.
Okay, and that is part of it. But for him personally, he's experiencing the truth.
Revelation.
Yes, but he's experiencing the truth in his own life. And because John knows Jesus personally, he's experiencing the sweetness.
I never thought of it that way.
And that's what he's experiencing, is the sweetness of knowing Jesus, and the sweetness of knowing the truth, and the sweetness of seeing that he's a sinner, and that he had a Savior, and he knew Jesus when he walked on this earth. And so this is all about his personal experience with the truth. He's also experiencing the bitterness. He is on Patmos Island. Why? Exactly.
Because they couldn't kill him.
Exactly. So he's on this island in isolation because of the gospel. That's a bitter situation for a pastor. He's a pastor. He's an apostle. He's meant to be a communicator of truth, and he's isolated on this island. But part of that bitterness, part of that pain is also what? What is he experiencing as part of that bitterness and that pain?
Yours.
There is dependence on God. That is true.
But the pain of seeing what the world is going to go through.
The pain of experiencing, sometimes we do feel, and he was feeling the pain and the experience of what other people were going to go through. That's exactly
But
right.
he's also knowing that what the outcome of it would be is like returning of Christ and returning of God's kingdom to earth.
And that would be part of the
Part of the
sweetness,
joy.
but also part of the bitterness, because we're reading about what those bitter experiences are.
Because
here
not
on this
everybody's
earth.
gonna accept it, even during that time.
And I
Yes.
think that's part of the pain, is seeing what people are going through and yet they still rebel.
Right.
And that's, how do you do that?
Right.
The pain's the burden the burden.
Yes,
that
it
takes.
is the burden.
That you can't lead them, you can't teach them enough to make them see what's right in front of them, what's available.
But I think that's the thing, is for every single person. Every single person has a moment where they see this is true, and before that they didn't see it was true. And
Epiphany.
yes, and that's the grace of God.
And
It's
not
absolutely the
necessarily
grace
the
of God.
outward expression of the book, it's the inward, like, the pain is like, you see it, you read it, and you realize what you've done in your life, and the pain it's caused you, and the pain it's caused other people.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily, the teaching of other people is secondary to the internal thing.
Yes. Yes.
Because the pain you experience and the pain you give out is what you're seeing there, but the joy is like, all these things I've done are washed away
Yes. By Jesus.
by Jesus.
Yes. That's exactly right. So you read it, Dan, but look at verse 11. What do we see in verse 11 that John is told? And it has to do with him taking all this inside and becoming a part of him. He's going to be, we aren't told this, but he's got to be a different guy. After going
Yeah.
through all of this, he's got to be a different guy because of these experiences.
But it
Okay?
tells him you must prophesy again.
Yes, you're going to prophesy again. Well, how's John? There's two ways that John has the potential to prophesy again. And what are the two ways?
He gets off Patmos. And goes,
He does get off
Yeah.
Patmos, and I looked, and it's almost like they think it was only like a year after he wrote the book that he was released from Patmos. When what's the emperor's name? It starts with a D.
or
Down-
Dalmatian, or
It's down like Dalmatian, or that sounds like a dog. That's,
Dominion?
huh?
Dominion?
No. But there was you better not. There was an emperor, and his last name started with a D, and when he died, John was released from Patmos. And,
Oh, yeah.
but when that happens, where does John go?
Back to his church.
He did. He went back to Ephesus. Ephesus was his church. And so there's two ways that he's going to prophesy again, and one is through the book of Revelation.
Mhm.
And another is to go back to that church that he loved and those people and share this message. However, we don't know how he shared it. We have no idea.
Domitian?
That's D. Is it D? How do you spell it?
Domitian.
Domitian.
Okay, so that once he was killed, it was him that exiled him to Patmos. Once he died, and I say killed, once he died, then, thank you for looking that up, then he was released. Okay, I want to go back and do one thing that I forgot until after I moved on, And, I just wanna point out, so we're not gonna touch chapter 11. We're gonna do chapter 11 next week, and then, but I think we can get through that whole chapter, okay? But I wanna go back to, I skipped something, which is in chapter 9, and at 13 through 16, and I'm sorry for skipping it. But I wanna look there, and I want us to see that, I wanted to talk about verse 16. So those 4 angels were released, and then what happens that plays into 1/3 of the population dying in verse 16?
The number of mounted troops was twice 10,000 times 10,000. I heard their number.
Okay, so John heard a number, he couldn't count that number, and what is that number?
Mine says 200 million.
Yeah, mine does too. A 200 million man army is described. Now you're gonna find that they're gonna be described in 2 ways, okay? Because of the first half of this chapter, the 5th woe, a lot of people think that this 6th woe is like a continuing of the same idea of demonic activity on the earth, okay? That 200 million man army is the demonic activity on the earth. You will find other people that say that it is a literal 200 million man army, and it would be coming from the east because they're released at the Euphrates, okay? So, and that is when he's writing this, the earth's population wasn't even that 200 million when John's writing this. So this is an unfathomable number for him.
It's not now though.
Huh? No, it's
There's
not now.
There's like
Exactly.
500 or 600 million people in the United States.
Exactly. And I think if you take the literal, and so it could be a literal army, and there's descriptions in there when he talks about this, let's look at verse, look at verse 17, yes.
And this is how I saw the horses in my vision and those who rode them. They wore breastplates, the color of fire and of sapphire and of sulfur. And the heads of the horses were like lions' heads, and fire and smoke and sulfur came out of their mouths.
Okay, so he could be describing what we would call more modern warfare. What kind of modern warfare would fit this description? And that it literally is a 200 million man army.
So there's 340 million people in the United States. So like,
Okay,
so that's a little bit less than the United States.
that's crazy, isn't
Yeah.
that crazy? That's why some people tend to think it's demonic, because how do you organize, how do you give supplies to, how do you keep this kind of an army functioning?
There's a 200 million.
Especially after so much of the earth has been
Yes.
destroyed.
Yes. It's possible, and we don't know. We can't really, there's some things we just can't say, oh, this is emphatically it, but we can certainly say that it could be one or the other. And that sounds like modern warfare, like tanks, and when you talk about, seeing fire and brimstone
Fire
and
jets.
military, exactly, it sounds like
Smoke, sulfur.
military, exactly, sulfur, that kind of message. It could be the best description John had while he was writing things down and what he was
Or
seeing.
it could be literal.
It could be literal, it could be demonic, and we don't have enough detail to go, this is emphatically this. Some people
Or
say
it could be demonically
It could be.
possessed military machines.
it could be a combination of both. But it's a horrific judgment that comes on the earth. Okay. Any other
Skynet is real.
thoughts? What?
Skynet.
Is Joe prodding you over there?
Yeah, he,
I just said AI robots.
Oh, well. Star Wars. Any other thoughts? Okay. Like I said, we'll do chapter 11 next week, and then we'll be up to chapter 12, and that will be new. Okay? Let's close. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your telling us about the future. We wouldn't know things if you didn't tell us. And also that you put so much of the Bible, we don't understand all of it, and there's a lot of things that we have to learn, but you also put a lot of information in the Bible to show us that you wrote it, to show us that you can tell us things ahead of time, and you can make them happen exactly like you said they would. And I know the bottom line for us is that we would believe you, that we would trust you. And I pray for each one of us individually as we live our lives, that we would grow in faith and grow in trust, and that we would see how much we need you, and that we would be grateful for what you have provided for us, that no one else could, no one else can, and what we so desperately need is you. Thank you for your mercy, and thank you for we see in this book, not only your judgment, but we see your great love and your great kindness for people. And I just pray that our hearts could take that in. In Jesus' name I pray.